Is Starfield destined for failure? That's the million-dollar question that Reggie has been ruminating on for a while now, and with just a week left on the countdown, we're standing at the edge of the abyss. The expectations are sky high, the hype's off the charts, and no matter what this game delivers on its big day out, it's gonna get a right seeing to Ron Jeremy style, with every man and their dog housing an opinion. So how much do we need to blame ourselves for feeding this hype machine, and how much do we place that blame on Bethesda and Microsoft for setting the expectations so high? Well, grab yourself a cuppa and let's all have a mass debate. Today, Reggie's got two sides of the argument, and where you plant your flag might just shift in the coming weeks. So without further ado, let's dive right in to why Starfield's already on a one-way train to Failureville. Now, the hype around Starfield has reached the stratosphere, and a fair chunk of that is thanks to Microsoft and Bethesda putting in their own kind of special rocket fuel, and you can't really blame them either. I mean, let's face it, Microsoft ain't exactly the poster child for blockbuster releases lately. Sony's been hogging the limelight with their exclusive gigs, so for Microsoft, Starfield ain't just another game, it's Willy Wonka's golden ticket, the one that's supposed to shift both Game Pass subscriptions and Xbox consoles, and we are all just Sasha Grey in this hype machine where Bethesda and Microsoft are stuffing our throats with the good stuff, and it is unrelenting. We might strut around thinking that we're immune to the adverts, but let's face it, we're only human. When our peepers lock onto something that tickles our fancy, our brains pump out more dopamine than a coffee addict after his first brew of the day. There's proper science behind it too, ladies and gentlemen, so companies aren't shy to splash their cash to swing the needle in their favour. And no matter which social media cesspool you're glued to, you've likely seen those pesky marketing ads shoved into your face like a Fulton County mugshot. And let's not kid ourselves, even on this video, you might have had a Starfield ad plastered before the main content even rolled. But what really slaps you across the face is how bloody early this whole marketing bonanza kicked off. Normally for games or movies, you'd be looking at around 4 weeks before the launch of a product for the main advertising push to happen, but not with Starfield. The marketing engine, it started months ago with social media as their weapon of choice. On top of that, they've served us an anime appetizer, dishing out the universe backstory, and let's not forget the flashy live action trailer backed by none other than Elton John's Rocket Man. And believe me, that ain't a cheap music license to just slap on. Team Microsoft's confidence then is sky high, like they're betting on a horse with 3 legs to win the Kentucky Derby. They want you hyped up, and we're the willing sheep frothing at the gob and ready for more. But hold your space horses, cause the piece de resistance of this hype buffet come in the form of Starfield Direct. Now, I ain't gonna dive into the content itself, as that's been done to death. What I do want to mention though is how much face time Starfield got with us. This wasn't some Microsoft Direct circus with Starfield tagged on. God no, it was quite the opposite. This was Starfield Direct with some other games thrown in for good measure. They threw a proper Starfield orgy, dedicated a whole hour to just one game, and in this orgy they dangled Starfield controllers, they flashed Starfield headsets, and you could bet your Nan's Sunday roast there would be a fancy collector's edition costing a mere $300 complete with a game-themed smartwatch. There ain't a bloody thing that Microsoft hasn't chucked at us yet. In my eyes, this is the gaming equivalent of a royal wedding, and let's be honest, it's likely the biggest deal for Microsoft since the first Halo dropped, given how it could truly kickstart the next-gen console race with other hitters soon to follow. Now, when we see that people dive into Starfield and start nitpicking every bloody detail, right down to its title screen, well, in a weird way, we were kind of invited to do so, weren't we? I mean, believe me, in about a week's time, we're going to see if Microsoft's hustle was worth the muscle. It's like we're floating in some alternate dimension, where an 8 out of 10 score might just be seen as a flop, and a miserable 7 out of 10 score might as well be viewed as a funeral march. We're in a strange place where 9s and 10s might be seen as the expected scenario here. It's like going to a nightclub and Megan Fox comes on over to you and offers you sloppy seconds. Sure, you'll take it, but you can't help but be just a little disappointed. But now we're into the second part of the video, and we're going to go only fan style and turn the lens back on ourselves. We've got to ask why this hype train even exists, and the first stop is indeed those review scores. Let's call a spade, shall we? Now, we slap on review scores on our reviews here at Cockney Gamer just to give you a ballpark of where one game stands against another game. But don't be daft either, my Padawans, because you know full well both fans and critics alike will use these numbers like ammunition to tear a game to shreds. I swear I can already hear the online forums exploding into chaos if some big shot publication dares to sling an 8 score at Starfield. And let's not forget the rampant fanboyism that's running amok out there. I mean, seriously, we're having debates about Bethesda's level of effort based on a fucking title screen. It's almost like a bad comedy routine, flipping between a hearty chuckle and feeling downright downcast. The issue with us gamers today is that we've gotten so fixated on flashy graphics that they're giving us wet dreams. We've started sidelining style and artistic flair. I've got a soft spot for indie games just for that reason. They're the underdogs, weaving enchanting worlds without the luxury of blockbuster budgets. Starfield's title screen, that's what we're squabbling over, is it? I mean, the whole uproar, the criticism, and the absurd tale that went viral with everyone taking a dump on the original poster, it just proves how much flack Starfield is in for, and it's not even out yet. Now take a glance at the Steam charts, and Starfield's already a top seller, and remember, a good chunk of you lot will be diving in from Game Pass, and don't you forget, we've had the elders of the forums chanting the mantra, "Thou shalt not pre-order, for it's a sin that feeds mediocrity and lazy game design." Exhibit A, Cyberspunk. It's like the prime example, innit? Gamers all over were going bonkers over the press release videos, especially coming from a well-established developer with a cracking track record. We all jumped on that bandwagon too, Reggie included, and boy, did it turn out to be a right mess, rivaling the letdown that was No Man's Sky's launch. Granted, both of them have since dusted themselves off and found better days, but it's a stark reminder of what can happen when we blindly put our faith in a developer. And then there's old Bethesda's track record. Now let's be honest, their history of putting out bug-free games is about as dodgy as accepting plane tickets from Vladimir Putin. Even I've got to admit, I'm already bracing myself for a barrage of memes to flood the internet in the next few days after release that's going to show dodgy haircuts or broken ship mechanics. And so what's the deal here? Why do we keep subjecting ourselves to this torture when the writing is on the wall? So let's chat about 2023, shall we? It ain't exactly been a year of gaming greatness, excluding only Baldur's Gate 3 and Dave the Diver. Redfall, tragic mess. Lord of the Rings Gollum, about as lively as the Queen of England, God rest her soul. Jedi Survivor, optimised as gracefully as a square peg trying to get in a round hole. And don't even get me started on The Last of Us Part 1. The shaders loading in was like watching a slug sprinting flip-flops. All these stinkers, they're from big shot publishers too, so our grand expectations utterly squashed. And yet, like a bunch of sadists, we keep crawling back for more, because who knows, maybe this time will be different, right? Hope springs eternal, they say. Now picture this, my Padawans, Starfield drops and it's greeted with reviews of 7 out of 10, and frankly, I wouldn't be gobsmacked if that's what goes down. The way I see it, considering the disappointing quality from the big league studios this year, it's a sad but honest outlook. So that's the 2 points of view presented to you, but where does Reggie stand in the argument? Well, I'm going to level with you. I don't reckon Starfield's got a shot at living up to the hype mountain that's been built, but if someone pitched me a game that's like Skyrim in space, a cosmic extravaganza that'll suck you in for hours, all wrapped up with 8 out of 10 scores, I'd have happily snapped your bloody arm off. Beam me up, Scotty, I'm in. But somehow deep down, I've got a gut feeling that might just leave a few folks disappointed. We'll find out soon enough though. The Cockney Gamer went ahead and snagged the so-called Early Access Edition just so I could whip up a review pronto for you lot. So check back before its official release on September 6th, where I'll have the final verdict. And with that, my lovelies, love to you all. Reggie out.